Wow. It's a full house.
Well, what?
Well, I'll let y'all figure that out. Yeah. Hi, BC WrestlePod nerds. But before I get in my intro bit, I have been told that there are some grievances that need to be aired. Yeah, so
I joined in the right show.
exactly. Thank you for being here, Jesse. You are here for the HR. But Lawful Evil Uno JVL, you had grievances apparently?
Yes. I was informed of some changes tonight early on, including 2 new hosts joining our little show. And I have some prepared statements if I might.
Go right ahead.
Mikey, I have 2 questions for you. 1, what's wrong with you?
Mike, as your HR counsel, don't answer that.
Mikey, my second question is, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Oh, my Christian ears here. Let's calm down with that.
No, I'm not
language
finished yet.
there.
I'm not finished. I have been with this podcast for going on since the beginning, and I have seen all the ups and downs of bringing a Bi-Conics-based wrestling program to the airwaves. I have been allowed to spout my drivel in more places than one, and I feel that it has been allowed to be so because I've not been hampered by other folks trying to drag on my coattails as we come along. Therefore, I need to say that if no one else ends up coming out of this alive, or at least in other ways, someone needs to leave Bi-Conics Wrestling tonight.
I mean, no, don't go nowhere. I need you. Don't.
Look, I scheduled my time in between my golf sessions for this, so let's tilly tally no further.
Tilly tally, eh?
There,
Well,
Mr. Person, let's get this show going.
We shall. BC WrestlePod fam, thank you for indulging me there. Jesse, this will make more sense to you as we go along of what I just did there. But we are here on the BC WrestlePod podcast with 4 hosts tonight talking about the new and upcoming amazing thing in wrestling called comedy wrestling, based around mystery wrestling in Gatineau, Quebec. I am Lawful Evil JVL tonight. I will be your main host. We have Mikey on the 1s and 2s being our jefe and everything else. We have Chad Blake Fedderson Esquire the second, and I don't know what RP means. I'm sorry about that.
That's Rotary Person. Thank you very much. Very distinguished title. Thank you.
Didn't realize you actually used that kind of phone. Anyways, we also have CM Pork joining us tonight. Jesse, you are joining us as we have requested you here because we haven't had you on the channel in a while. This wrestling is definitely up your alley, and though you may not have seen every bit of it, we want that reaction from someone who can viscerally not enjoy fun to see the most fun in wrestling.
I can't believe that you call this wrestling.
As we figured out, Chad Blake is in the same vein as Stu Grayson, but we'll get to that later.
The only one that made sense in the show now. Carry on, Mr. Carry on there, Jeff.
Thank you, Chad.
Mr. Fedderson, your collar has flopped down from being popped, just so you're aware.
Well, that is because I'm just so flip-flustered. Golly gee willikers.
Flip-flustered, okay.
I'm just so flip-flustered. That's all.
The fact that I can read your prepared statements on your glasses also brings me joy. But we are here tonight to go over Mystery Wrestling from Evil Uno's wonderful mind from Gatineau, Quebec on last night. Is Mystery Wrestling 16. For those of you that are joining us for the first time here, Mystery Wrestling is a comedy wrestling, ostensibly, federation based out of Quebec, where a lot of your favorites from AEW, WWE, PWG, ROH all tend to join, but it's a lot of Evil Uno's friends, and it's really, truly a spectacle to behold because not only can this bingo hall hold at last count during this show 48,000 people, but it's so low that you cannot do aerial moves in it without either clipping the fairy lights or the support beams of this bingo hall.
That was the one good thing. There was less flippy dippy.
It's true, but Seabass Finn nearly took out the roof. So I mean, that was a whole thing there.
Basically, and those numbers were bloated. I'm sure there was no more than 20,000.
No more, at least. Well, thank you for fact checking that, Chad Blake. What we're going to do here is we're going to go through the card, talk through some of the amazing bits here. I will state up top, I am biased. watching these wrestlers perform their craft to this extreme and understanding what it means to draw this emotion from a crowd like this and get this comedy across is one of the sweetest things to observe in this day and age of homogenized products made by companies that are a combat company that get rid of stars recently and other places.
What?
Either way, Jesse, I will also say this too. If you find this interesting or would like to watch the rest of it, both Mike and I are Patreon members of Mystery Wrestling and now have the links to all of these shows. They're worth a watch. However, if you're joining us for the first time and would like to drop anything in the comments, if you watched or not, or have joined them on Twitch or on YouTube, let us know. If you like Chad Blake Feddersen and want him back, let me know. If you want CM Pork to go over and get rid of him, please tell us as well. He can put him through a table very easily.
Listen, all my years in the Air Force Reserve taught me how to do a little tussling. All right there. So just know this. Let's get to this wrestling that you talked. This mystery. There was no mystery. This mystery.
Chad Blake, I do need to let you know though that you didn't list the AFAFR in your title, so therefore I didn't realize you were a reservist.
Well, that's right. That's right.
So in Mystery Wrestling, usually you don't find out the card until the night of. We were a little bit spoiled this week because we were given the middle of the card match, which ostensibly was at the intermission, but we knew that was going to be our big match of the night. But we started off, as we always do, with our 4-way Druids match. Jesse, for you, this is where 4 wrestlers who have not been announced stand in Druid robes in the ring and reveal themselves one by one before they have a 4-way match at the top. Chad Blake, Chatterson, Feddersen, man, what's your feeling on 4-ways? Do you enjoy them from both sides?
Well, let me tell you, I've seen many a 4-way and I've seen many a 5-way. I've never partook, if you will, but I can say that this 4-way, if it was good, I'd say it was very comical and very entertaining, which it wasn't. Wrestling? Nay, I say this wasn't wrestling. I mean, there wasn't even any jumbotrons, these mystery druids. They didn't even have any. There was no jumbotron.
There was a jumbotron.
What kind of company is this if there's no jumbotron? But back to the druids. There was no smoke. There was no Stonehenge.
I seem to remember even they had gotten 2 fog machines. They had spent all their budget on that for this evening. Mikey, your thoughts on 4-ways?
Well, how can I say without getting demonetized? There is no other way. I mean, I like them ever which way and any way, up, down, left, right, just straight to the center. Love me a good 4-way.
Jesse, just thoughts on 4-ways? Are you into them? Are you out of them? Are you in between them?
I like the concept of them. The execution's always a little poor and messy. But I don't think I could ever partake in one just because of the fact that I don't like disappointing one person, let alone 3 people at the same time. So,
well, aren't you in luck? We had people that were disappointed all over the place because our 4-way was James Stone, a local Quebec wrestler who has been known to be taller and look a little bit like our main event person. We also had Seabass Finn and TJ Crawford, who are from the Massachusetts and New Hampshire area, local wrestlers there.
A fishman.
A fishman indeed, who had a fisherman's pole and a fish tattoo. And finally, our big reveal, Bear Bronson in our 4-way to start off the match. Our first appearance of him outside of AEW since his release, and this was not disappointing. We had a lot of teases for certain moves. Bear Bronson and James Stone going full-on meat magic on each other while chucking the small people apart. But I need to ask you, Chad Blake, I feel you'd be a TJ Crawford fan just for the arrogance you show on the mic. Did you relate to him in any respect in that for what he was doing there, being outside the ring so much?
I mean, I did feel a little bit of a kindred soul, if you will, if that's what the kids are saying now. But I did. Let me tell you what did annoy me. Tell you what did annoy me of this match. The fisherman, the flopping about.
Yes.
When he was
he would flop like a fish.
Struck. I mean, if I found that entertaining, which I didn't, but if I found that entertaining, then I would say that was a very imaginative angle for things and a great way to be introduced to this mystery wrestling. But it was terrible, hack all around.
I'm surprised you went straight for that there, Chad Blake, because the other, I mean, we went full pun with this at some point because Seabass did fishhook Bear Bronson in the mouth, drag him around into a fisherman buster in order to try to pin him and win the match. Now, he was broken up by James Stone, who basically was running wild over everybody else here, but Seabass seemed to get a lot of stuff in here. The biggest thing for me was they all seemed to play to the booth with Evil Uno and Top Dog, who was his co-host this month, who is a Jesse. He's a hot dog salesman who also wrestles. But in general, it was a lot of playing to them and trying to get them to pop for most of it. Mikey, did you see like Evil Uno trying to hold back laughter to start with in this, or were we just kind of enjoying it overall?
I mean, with any Druid match, I suppose. I feel like these four in general were trying to get a pop out of Evil Uno and Top Dog on commentary, but as we'll talk about in our main event with a certain champion of some sort, always playing to the hard cam. It's like right there, do it right now, stare into my soul. I love it. It's fantastic.
But we had a lot of back and forth there. Bear Bronson got a lot of offense in here, but also was playing up that kind of overworked professional as opposed to the amateurs he was wrestling, and was pinned and defeated by James Stone, I believe, unless it was Seabass. I believe that. So it was just James Stone, the local guy, goes over, which normally we've seen, Mikey, in the last couple of months of this, the out-of-town, AEW wrestler is the one that usually goes over. So Bronson giving this up and losing the match as well as everyone else, as Seabass, I believe, takes the pin. This was a kind of an omen for the beginning of this this show. Things were not going to be as they usually seemed. I don't know if anyone else, by the way.
No, they were not. And we'll talk about it as we go along. But now that I got to see everything from beginning to end, I was like, this energy was weird the whole entire way, but in a good way.
The other fun part is we always forget how low their ring is because it has to be. And the crowd can be seen pretty much ostensibly over the top of the mat. So when you roll out of the ring, you're rolling into someone's lap. It's quite funny to see a lot of that going on with 4+ people. We got our match, though. And then we got our first introduction. Now, Chad Blake, I do want to ask you specifically, because I feel like your perspective on this would be different than most. Do you like the refs in Mystery Wrestling? Are you a fan of them?
I am quite the fan of law and order, as you see on more professional organizations of wrestling, that have jumbotrons and that fill big stadiums and have fireworks. So as you know, if you watch that product, which is good wrestling, the referees are held in reverence. It was unbelievable how these refs were treated. Unbelievable. Bah.
Jesse, the reason I asked that was because, as we all know, and Mikey is with me on this, we all hate the refs in Mystery Wrestling. They are utterly terrible and get booed on a regular occasion.
Is it because they do their job?
Partially because they're also terrible at their job in a lot of different ways. Like in our next match, as we had our singles one-on-one match where visiting wrestler Simon Miller, our big headliner, actually was not the main event in this match because he took on Kevin Nasquatch.
I did see clips of this.
Now,
Big Woodsy.
Now, of all the cryptids that could have been chosen, Mothman, the Alligator Man, that man, whatever.
Chalupa, the thing that sucks the goat blood, the chalupa, right?
Yes, the chalupa con carne, that's right.
Mikey, I know it's chupacabra.
But we're gonna keep that flippy dippy out of this. None of that chippy chappy stuff.
Chaplin, I want to go back. What is this alligator man? I'm very interested in this alligator
from Florida. It's a local mythology. See, when we're on the back nines, we need to be careful of the alligator man. If you go,
you sure that's not just Killer Croc?
It's not Killer Croc. Bring that nerd stuff in here. No. See, when you go into the
Gilmore?
No. When you go into the bush to get your balls, You need to watch for this alligator man
Hopefully
who.
you're
But they trimmed that.
Well,
Anyhow.
but that's beside the point. But anyway, my point is a Sasquatch, really,
Yes.
a Sasquatch.
Dressed as Diesel, yes.
My immersion
Your immersion was
Destroyed.
broken out.
destroyed. And
I-
Simon Myler, what's this
Myler.
individual's name?
The
Mylar.
yes, the
Mylar.
Wymaster.
Yeah, he said was he from England?
Great Britain, actually.
Oh, that would explain. Hack.
Yes. Hack, I see. Well, this was perfectly played. Simon Miller starts off with cutting a promo on how excited he is to be fighting a legend like Kevin Nash, and that he just couldn't believe he flew all the way from England to be able to do this and get this opportunity. This was a well-worked
Wasn't
match.
even Kevin Nash. Wasn't even Kevin Nash.
You're breaking the fourth wall there, Chad Blake.
Immersion.
There we are. A back and forth match overall, well worked in terms of style, but also these men were made, men and Monster, they were made to suplex each other, throw each other around, eye poke, slap bald heads, and in general, just get into a weird bit of chain mat wrestling that Mikey, I've never seen Sasquatch work that hard on the mat before. When he was out last month, he was a little more hip hop Dr. Thugonomics and seemed to be into that, but this was weird.
I loved every single moment of this. I think my favorite part about this whole entire match too is again, I am not a performative person or a theater person, but there's just something about the visual gag and the physical comedy of Kevin Nashquatch having to go over the top rope to go in and out of the ring, and Simon Miller just kept like a log, like in, out, in, out. I loved it so much.
In his leather pants, and also the fact that his singlet was so tight that the pectorals were bursting. Just overall amazing stuff. Jesse, I don't know if you caught the end of this after Simon Miller wins, but he does do a version of the jackknife powerbomb.
That's the clip I saw.
Did you catch what the commentary said about that when he watched it?
No, I did not.
So Jesse, what would you say as to like Kevin Nash in general as a worker? Did you feel like he was a hard worker when he would fight, or was he usually just someone who would utilize his opponent to his advantage?
That's a big question. Because I'm one of the few. I actually really liked Kevin Nash as a worker earlier. He definitely got lazy later on when he was actively drinking beers coming to the ring in WCW. He did his he had less moves of doom than John Cena did. So he kind of just took advantage of his opponents. But earlier, when he was still finding himself, when he was Oz and Vinny Vegas and all that, yeah, he was a good worker.
Well, unfortunately, Evil Uno disagrees with me on this point because they were talking about this wonderful powerbomb being the laziest put down that had ever been done, where he just lets him fall from a large height instead of actually pinning and hitting the man. Jesse, do you feel like cryptids in general have a role in wrestling going forward, or that they need to have more than just Sasquatch?
I think there should be more cryptid representation, but we're going to have to figure out the accessibility feature, because how are we going to get Champ and Nessie in there?
If anyone can do it, I'm pretty
They're
sure
going to have to bring back that ring, the wrestling ring that had the pool surrounding it.
Now that's a deep pull. That's a deep pull there.
Well, lest we forget, this is the 51st state of Canada. So I'm sure the only thing that they can muster up in the way of cryptids is a Sasquatch.
Moose Man.
I mean, he is native to the area in certain respects. It's harder to get stuff like that.
He might live behind in the dumpster of the Tim Hortons there. Who knows?
I mean, that's quite a ways away, but he could have walked that far. But it was definitely one of the highlights of the evening was seeing Sasquatch back again, taking on their visiting wrestler and getting his butt kicked in certain ways. We love Sasquatch. We want to see him back. I will say the Sasquatch foot did pop off whatever was underneath of it for the tread during it. So there was a couple double foot things. Yes.
The big question is Kevin Nash Squatch's quad still intact? Because we got to throw a quad joke in there.
Oh, he blew his quad out midway through the match.
Yes.
Then he blew his other quad out.
I was concerned for the Sasquatch, I will admit. That evil man from Britannia, that Chip Cheerio individual, attacked that poor Sasquatch when his quad was blown. It was terrible.
He was there. It was a repeatedly just going to the quad, showing how much he was hurting, because obviously Sasquatch very notoriously quiet, but well done there overall. We then get our next match, which is a 6-person tag match, as we had the heels versus the faces, but we had actually this. So Mike, I have to ask you this from last month. Drea Mitchell was on the baddie team, and that was surprising because she was fighting Katrina Creed last month, along with Vanessa Craven, who was there to show off her new gear. Is she a heel? Do we know in this respect, or is she just flopping around? I don't know. Mikey's shaking his head at me.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep the show going.
Oh no. Everything all right?
No, oof. This was an interesting one of how everybody was paired up. I was like, all right then. I'm here for it though. Also, the baddie team, call me.
Well, Vanessa Craven in general was showing off, so yes.
For reals. I did not know that I needed wrestling gnome characters until we got this match. I'm not gonna lie. I was just like, there's literally a party gnome. You know, I could say this without us getting demonetized. I feel that I was at my local rave and I thought I had just straight up dropped acid because I was straight tripping when I was seeing. But
Gabby
I love
Forza
this.
and Sparks, they were the party gnomes themselves. And also, Kristara and Leah did not lose their gnome hats throughout the entirety of this match.
That is a feat in itself.
I would just like to know what type of mysterious shack they found a gnome in Canada.
Quite a gnome to begin with. She was wearing shoulder pads.
Yes, is dare I say homage to the road to the Road Warriors, one of the greatest tag teams ever to wrestle real wrestling. Thank you very much.
You're not a fan of the Gnome Warrior?
Huh? What was that?
You're not a fan of the Gnome Warrior?
Well, I mean, let's call a spade here. Okay. Okay. All right. Halflings are so much better than gnomes. I mean, look at the Lord of the Rings. All right. Were those gnomes? No, not the book. I know that a book might be difficult for you there, Jorge, to read, but the Lord of the Rings, you know, written by J.R.R. Tolkien, right? Yes. Halflings are the heroes, not gnomes. Gnomes, gardens.
All right, David, we'll keep moving on. This was a supremely wrestled match. A lot of great psychology in it, in the fact that the baddies were all a lot bigger than the actual good team, but somehow our babyfaces come out on top with an amazing, technically sound triple team move, and just keeping the gnome alive. Evil Uno had a lot of fun talking about the fact that there was no way they could afford to have the entirety of the gnome culture represented in this thing, but he was going to work toward paying restitution toward the gnomish people at that point, which was wonderful to hear. So thank you, Evil Uno, for at least ostensibly trying to. Jesse is just dying here.
Halflings. Should be halflings.
Should be halflings. Oh no. Well, I know we're speeding through this because I wanted to get to this match. I'm sorry I'm jumping over the first three. It was a lot of wrestling, some fun comedy, because this was the match that we were announced as. And Mikey, do we have a Chiron card for this?
No.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
So Jesse, this was announced. There is a long history between these two wrestlers. London Lightning, Cecil Nix.
I know one of those names.
You do. London Lightning has been on a couple different things, and Cecil Nix is a local wrestler 15 years. London Lightning and Cecil Nix have had a blood feud for about a year, to the point where they were in a literal death match where they were going to kill one another, but then found out from future London Lightning that if London Lightning killed Cecil Nix, he would end professional wrestling forever and kill Mystery Wrestling. So future London Lightning took poison and died so that the death match would end. From there, they became tag partners because they seemed to like each other, and they got very close to kissing multiple times as the Ass Blasters. They would try to kiss each other and do other things of that nature. But last month, Mikey was there for this. Yes, Chad Blake, yes.
My Christian sensibilities. No, go on.
Last month at Mr. Wrestling 15, the Ass Blasters had a match against the Space Sluts, a tag match. So London Lightning and Cecil Nix came out. Unfortunately, Cecil Nix is also on the Space Sluts, and so came out with his other partner, Xander Orion, and they wrestled a tag match with 3 people. Cecil Nix pinned himself to win and lose, and London Lightning had enough. He turned heel on Cecil Nix, told him that he was a waste of space, that London Lightning had plans. He had trained. He had worked his ass off. He had taken acting classes because he had a reason to be there and wanted to punish Cecil Nix, but he couldn't kill him. So he challenged him to a loser leaves mystery wrestling match, which is what we got this month. That was all recapped in a wonderful homage, as Chad Blake would say, to the Limp Bizkit promo for The Rock Austin back from WrestleMania 17. And Mikey,
Quality wrestling.
You know these people too well. This match was the greatest hits of their feud all the way through. Am I wrong?
You are not. I love this. This was the match I was looking forward to the most on this whole entire thing. This was fantastic. I loved it.
Favorite parts of this, because this went on forever, and there was a ridiculous. They had 2 referees.
Yes, I wish I had. They had 2 referees. They had reinforced doors. that was my favorite part, was the reinforced door spot where he tries to go through it and he just like can't break through it twice and then just decides to lay there while it's just like there's a concave of it just going but not breaking the whole entire way. I had to stop and breathe for a moment after that. I was like, he can't get through the thing.
See, what type of roughshod company can't get actual breaking doors for their wrestling events? I mean, come on.
Well, Chad Blake, I hate to break it to you. It was explained by Evil Uno on commentary. They bought the reinforced doors because these 2 have had so many matches broken up by DQ by them going through them too easily that they wanted to give it a chance to have a real, actual winner instead of a DQ finish. Though they tried the hardest, pitting the referees against each other by stealing $5 from one of them, planting it on the other, and having them fight it out and take themselves out of the ring. You had London Lightning's brother, who apparently is more talented and will stay around, come out as a referee and try to fast count Cecil Nix, only to get kicked out. And then, of course, you had the back and forth of eye pokes behind the ref's eyes, the low blow hockey fight where they each were punching each other in the dick multiple times, where they're on the floor. Then they punched themselves back up and stood up and continued to do it. And then the Cecil Nix door spot that didn't work, where he basically tried to do a sea bass fish into the door multiple times until London Lightning went through the door. It was there we are, these 2 wonderful people. We had a very long match here that brought everyone together. Almost the crowd was chanting for more referees all the way through it because they wanted more. Chad Blake, I know you as the Law and Order person. Did you want to see more referees than the 3 we got, or?
I believe it needed that. All I need to say is that poor, beautifully coiffed young man who had to go out into the streets of Gatineau, Canada, and walk a boot, as they say, and pick up an Uber, with sun glistening on his poor muscles, looking all scared, having to go into a Tim Hortons, not even a Dunkin' Donuts.
He was kicked out because he was wearing trunks, though. That was the problem. He didn't have on proper attire for the Tim Hortons. But also, before we get into this description, though, a big shout out to Mr. Flip 810, who is joining us online right now. Thank you for joining us and listening into this. We are excited
Hola,
to hear
mi
from Mr.
amigo.
Wrestling. That's very nice. Jesse, what we're explaining here is that London Lightning ended up losing to Cecil Nix, spoilers completely, and then was escorted from the building. And for the entirety of the intermission, we watched him walking away from Mystery Wrestling and continuing to walk away from Mystery Wrestling. I think this was a good almost 10 minutes of just footage. Yes.
Not only walking away, but walking around the mean streets of Gatineau,
Quebec, not knowing where he is. He stopped to take a photo with a kid on a bike who didn't know who he was. He found a copy of Death Note, the comic book, on the ground, which was not planted. And he got kicked out of Tim Hortons for wearing a muscle shirt and trunks. All things we will remember him for. London Lightning, though, this has been the blood feud from Mystery Wrestling. It's sad that it's over. We keep Cecil Nix and Xander Orion, but where does London Lightning go from here? Mikey, everyone else, do you think he's finally going to get called up to ROH, or is he going somewhere else?
Well, I hope that he finds his way out of Gatineau, Quebec, and yes, hopefully he's somewhere in Ontario now, safe. At a Dunkin' Donuts.
You don't want him in Quebec at all. You want him in another province.
Oh well, those very mean streets in Quebec.
What's wrong with the Maritimes? New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Labrador.
Oh well, the puffins. Don't even talk about that. Anyway, yes, no. Hopefully he does find this young London Lightning a new home. Perhaps he can go to a developmental brand, if you will, like some sort of next type thing. You know what I mean.
Yeah, CMLL. Yes, I know. But it's
no flippy dippy. Thank you very much. Them chippy chappies.
Oh, them's fighting words, bitch. We'll throw down right now.
What's going on, Jesse? What was that?
And maybe he'll just come back to Mystery under a different moniker. Instead of London Lightning, he'll be like Cardiff Thunder.
Yes.
That was half the joke Cecil Nix made about him was like, you came with it. What'd you come with your name? You picked a place in a part of weather?
Are we sure that's not... Are we sure
That
that's not how you
couldn't-
pick your stripper name? I'm just saying.
That could never happen. That could never happen. He's a serial wrestler. Thank you very much. He would honor the wrestling creed.
Sure.
I do have one other question for the group, though. Do we think, because it has been ostensibly set up that there is time travel in Mystery Wrestling, will a different version of future London Lightning show up at some point?
Probably.
And does that fit the he left and then came back, or does it feel like he's always banned?
No, it has to be after, because Thunder comes after Lightning.
Oh my gosh. Or instead of time travel, we jump a step further and then we are doing multiverse.
Nerds. I don't even know the words you're saying. They're so nerdy.
I mean, with your 5th grade education, I wouldn't expect you to. Anywho.
In general, when someone uses words of that respect, I feel that they should be given at least a chance to try to make a full, complete sentence. But Chad Blake, it feels like you're trying to hydrate better so you can make better commentary at that point, kind of like our next match in certain ways. Because we come back from our intermission and we get our first gimmick match, so to say, which I know you probably hated for the most part, Chad Blake, although it was quick, very quick.
Dare I say a squash match?
Squash of some sort, but
some sort.
We had Xander Orion taking on Jason Exile for a cash prize of 5,000 Canadian dollars in a pick your poison match. Jesse, without having watched it, what do you think a pick your poison match is?
I don't know. It's like you have to pick a stipulation on yourself, like a blindfold or your arm tied behind your back or something like that.
That would be a logical assumption. That's how.
So that means that's wrong.
Yep, the most professionally wrestling companies would do it that way. Mystery Wrestling has never been logical. Chad Blake, I feel this was a lot more clean and actually just on the nose because it is what it is. The name on the tin is what you're getting because both wrestlers picked a bottle off a tray and had to drink it before the match started. And one of them did not die of poisoning. Jason Exile loses to Xander Orion by being poisoned. And we were told both over, he's not dead, but was having to be carried out by the entire locker room for perhaps dying of poisoning. That was the match.
Okay.
Not literally, Jesse. It's literally there's a whole bunch of stuff. You literally pick your poison, and you win if you pick the poison.
You win by being poisoned.
Yes,
And he won $5,000.
that's
to
the ultimate
actually-
Uno reverse.
Exactly. And so they were, I loved afterwards that Uno and Top Dog were opining about what he's going to spend that $5,000 on, how he's going to be able to use it now as he's being carted off and put basically in a casket in the back. But definitely something that could change the pace. Good old Mr. Wrestling giving us things that we have no idea if they'll work and throwing stuff at a wall that seems to.
I kid you not, Jesse. This whole entire segment from beginning to end for the next match was like 2 minutes,
If that.
if that.
They drank the poison and that was
It was so good, though. It was so stupid, but it was so good.
If I was the type of person that enjoyed frivolous, comical things and not serial wrestling, as real companies give, I would say this was fantastic, and I laughed my ass off. But I won't.
No, you would
No.
never want to laugh at people who
No,
take the logical
no.
stream of a match and go even farther just for the laughs. You wouldn't want
Where-
that, Chad.
Where's my 30-second pin? Where's my my secret getting punched in the back of the head, and a family friendly type ending like that? No, we have to take a poisoning.
We have that for you in the next 2 matches, actually, because after the pick your poison match, we get our semi-main, which is saying a lot by the people that were involved. We had Ortiz of Proud and Powerful, formerly, taking on Brandon Cutler in his D&D garb.
Nerd.
So freaking cool.
These two know each other so well from being in AEW and other places, but they worked a match that was not only superiorly athletic, as you would enjoy Chad Blake, but brought out the funny in many different ways, including from weird rest holds, a botched couple on purpose, botched a couple of aerial events, and multiple bumps onto plastic dice,
Ow.
including a jumping sunset flip off the top rope.
There were so many D4s. My winced when they landed on those a few times.
They were jumping off the top rope onto them. This was
Yep.
bad for their bodies. Yes, Chad Blake.
And I guess those dice are used for a game for like this is that satanic D&D stuff. Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my!
It is,
Right?
yes.
Yes. Ugh,
As you saw on
terrible.
screen, we
Terrible.
summoned the demon
Terrible.
of pain on all of them. Jesse, Jesse, as a fan,
Why do you keep showing this for me?
No, that was for Mr. Chattington over here. The views expressed by this man.
That was that's Chad Blake there, Munchik. Thank you.
Chad Mike
Sure.
Federline.
Sure, whatever thing, Charles.
Chaz.
Chad Blake.
Jesse, as I was asking though, as a fan of D&D, and you know a little bit of Brandon Cutler and his experience with that that kind of gimmick, if you can imagine it, do you feel like that's worse to take a bump on than say Lego or Tax or anything else?
Were they plastic?
They seem to be plastic, yes.
Not
They were
metal.
They were not metal.
No.
I take going on dice over Legos just because the only really super pointy ones are the D4s.
There were a lot of those in there.
Yeah, I'd still take that over Legos or Jacks or Thumbtacks or anything like that.
Mikey, how about you?
That is a good question. I will take the dice. I will say, however, there was also a couple of chunky D20s in there that bounced as soon as
Yes.
they hit them too. I was like, oh god, no.
Chad Blake, I know you don't like the concept of where these come from, but if you had to take a bump in a ring, would you rather take them on the dice, the Legos, or the Tax?
Oh well, I mean, a family wholesome thumbtacks spot that is good for the kids. That is the bump to take. Yes. These satanic dice and whatnot. And let me tell you something else. There, Xander. All right. If I was
Xander?
You hush your mouth there, O'Reilly. If I was the type of individual, the type of
You're not an
just
individual, you're multiple?
I am. But no, if I was the type of individual who indulged in these types of games that even game mastered or dungeon mastered or ran campaigns on a daily basis, even though he really doesn't have a campaign going on right now and really wants to play in a campaign or run a campaign. If I was that type of individual, I'd say that I squeed like a little happy child, but I will not say that. No,
You didn't.
was a bunch
It
of-
wasn't said at all.
this was all satanic nerdness. Bah.
I'm sensing a lot of repressed feelings here. We can talk afterwards, Mr.
Well, yeah, he
Chaddington.
said his Christian sensibilities, repressed feelings. They go hand in hand.
I don't know what you're talking about.
As it sips from Stanley Cup.
It's okay.
My totally real Stanley Cup. Thank you very much. Where's your real Stanley Cup?
I prefer my ball jar.
I drink from plastic, so we're all good here.
So we'll get to the end though. So Ortiz defeats Brandon Cutler by doing a giant sunset flip onto the dice to flip him. It was so
That
my
was
God.
gnarly.
It was a gnarly bump, and you could see them feeling it afterwards. But that was not the gnarliest bumps of the night because we got to our main event.
Very quickly, I will also say
Yes.
there was another wrestler that used dice in wrestling matches before.
Mm-hmm.
One Macho Mage. Look it up. Stolen.
Listen, for those of you who have been following BC WrestlePod for the last 2.5 years, if you know, that is the deepest cut you are going to get in this lore. That is all I'm going to say.
Don't make me get somebody else to put their Santa
Wink.
things on. Anyhow, we got to our final match of the evening, and this one must have been your favorite, Chaddington.
Yes. Finally, some sensibility going on.
We had local boy and fan favorite Stu Grayson taking on champion Psycho Mike, the master of the body slam, for all the marbles and the title of Mystery Wrestling Champion. For all of you that may not have seen this, Psycho Mike in general has become a meme-worthy wrestler of his own for many different reasons, and he went through every bit of them tonight. Somehow Stu allowed him to. Chad, I don't know if you felt bad as Stu was forced to be in an arm wrench, as Psycho Mike never broke eye contact with the hard cam, always knew where it was. Constantly spinning around.
Terrible how they treated that individual, and not to jump the shark, as the kids say. But I am so happy that he won the championship. I mean, I personally, I like staring at some hard stuff myself, long and hard. Yes, but
Do
you
you
know,
have it
like,
close to you or like near your face, or it needs to be far away and you just have to?
well, you know, when I'm playing with the shaft of my shaft when I golf, I like to bring it up
into holes. Yeah.
Yes. And when my balls are going into the bush, right? I like to bring that shaft up close.
As you shank. Yeah.
So
That's right.
Are you
That's
sure,
right.
are you like Patrick Starr where you have to firmly grasp it?
Oh yeah, indeed.
Firmly
Grasp it.
Indeed.
The lid.
Firmly, yet
lid.
gentle. But at any rate, yes, the hard cam staring, which was actually a bit unnerving.
As it always is with Psycho Mike, along with a lot of just non-selling of suplexes that were very fun to get around. The body slam cartwheeling that was going on as they were trying to get into the body slam.
That was amazing.
The athleticism to be able to do that over and over again. Stu Grayson, though, really brought hard-nosed snug wrestling to Psycho Mike, who was doing a lot more comedy wrestling, I would call it.
Indeed.
I need to ask Mikey, do we think Psycho Mike is moving on as well? Because he's lost the championship now, and he's been getting a lot of attention for these matches.
Well, to peek behind the curtain, and we're having a great time here, but to pull back to the actual wrestling review portion of it, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Psycho Mike for a little bit in Mystery Wrestling, especially since he's also been appearing a lot over at Scott D'Amore's resurgence of Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling too. He's been in their last couple of events. He just competed in the 20-man gauntlet to crown the inaugural MLP Men's World Champion. And he's also going to be at the next one in Resurrection in July. So I think we'll see Psycho Mike return in a little bit, but without getting too in deep into it because of what happened and who's now holding this champion, we're about to take the darkest turn ever in Mystery Wrestling. It's crazy out here. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's actually plot progression.
What I feel normalcy is being brought to mystery wrestling, which it needs. Perhaps a jumbotron, perhaps some family-friendly women, scantily clad, dancing
You prefer, like,
as these Canadians say, a boot. I mean, family-friendly stuff, things
What
like
the
that. Yeah,
more pure
this
attacks,
is
I
what
got
is
you.
needed.
Okay.
Yes, 3-hour shows.
I did want to ask though, not to pivot too far off Chad Blake as I am. Jesse, were you in Gatineau a couple nights ago? Because I could have sworn you were in Evil Uno's other mask when you popped up to help Stu Grayson as he completely voided Psycho Mike all over the ring. Were you up in Canada?
I've learned long ago not to answer these types of questions.
It's a very HR answer. It ended up being James Stone, supposedly under the mask, as Evil Dose, I'm going to call him at this point, throwing Evil Uno off. But it did look a lot like Jesse was there. So I want to know if you had made a trip and just were playing James Stone for the evening.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
But as we've kind of danced around, James Stone pops up in a hoodie and an Evil Uno mask and helps Stu Grayson cheat to beat Psycho Mike and retain or take over the title and all the marbles, and then dumps out the bag of marbles all over, spilling them everywhere.
That's as should have been done. Yes, and now perhaps that belt can actually be turned into a nice belt with like a big eagle or more gold on it.
Shouldn't it be a loon?
Family friendly things like that.
Shouldn't it be a loon for Canada?
I mean, they are rather crazy up there, yes, but no, like a real bird, eagle. America. Thank you.
Mikey, I did want to ask you, Stu's promo that was barely able to be heard over the end of this. What did we get out of that? What is he going to do to Mystery Wrestling?
I don't know, but I'm okay with that because I feel that. I honestly have no idea where we're going with this because we're so used to our view of what mystery wrestling is and what we've seen within these 16 iterations. But now we're actually seeing like a turn, a plot progression. And I'm like,
actual plot.
Well,
normalcy.
Okay.
Normalcy.
Well,
Normalcy.
I wouldn't call it normalcy. It might be normal for the uninitiated of some of us here, not naming names. Looking at you, Chad Blake. But anywho, no, I'm excited for this. There's a potential for plot progression. I'm interested to see what the dynamic is. And the fact that we kind of end the show with Evil Uno leaving the commentary to go deal with that too was kind of wild.
He was verbally attacked by Stu Grayson saying it was his fault for all this. Like, I was completely taken aback that Stu would have the balls to take it out on him.
I blame him too. Evil Uno.
It's in the incel playbook to blame others and not take the responsibility for your own problem shaft on the bushes.
And
what I have to say.
Jesse, again, you're not fully familiar with what went on here, but in general, if we have something that's working 16 times over and now it's being changed into add depth, is that a bad thing?
Maybe.
What a non-committal answer.
I've become very good at sitting on a fence. Sleeping on a fence is even better. It's challenging. You got to either have the post in your mouth or somewhere else to stabilize it. But no, they've done it 16 times, pretty successful, but maybe something new wouldn't be a bad thing.
Almost like evolving yourself and not staying in the same run around of releasing wrestlers, moving people up, not utilizing them.
Real wrestling, thank you very much. Real wrestling, thank you very much. Real wrestling.
This whole cyclical nonsense of talent dismissal is.
It's called.
Maybe if Mystery Wrestling doesn't do that, it'll be something novel and different for all of us.
It's called The Biz. Thanks.
Well,
can you spell that for me?
B-I...
That's letters for you. I'm sorry.
B-I-Z. B-I-Z.
Those aren't even letters.
All right. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I Yes, they are. I went to a very private school. I know. Thank you very much.
Can we get a refund?
I know. Oh
No.
my God. we're losing track.
Did you get your certificate of attendance? Is that what happened?
Oh, I got a certificate. Thank you very much. A big certificate. The biggest, hugest certificate.
Are you
So
sure
you
that
have to
wasn't a
print it out
restraining
yourself?
order that says you're not allowed within 500 feet of this school?
No.
Ah, that was a bunch
And-
of lying. Anyway,
And on
So-
that note,
what I want to say is
no.
yes.
Mike,
If-
can you mute him.
If
I actually
if
Anywho, I just yes.
He's had a lot to say there, folks. He's going to continue to say it. I did want to ask everyone on the roundabout, in general, would you want to watch more of this, or are like in your last thoughts, like why would Mystery Wrestling, after watching this or any of the other ones you've kind of seen, draw you in to see the next one on the 20th of July on Evil Uno's birthday? Why would you want to continue being a fan of this? And would you want to actually see it? I'm going around here, so who wants to speak first?
I was trying to get to that, but I was rudely interrupted, which is fine.
You weren't interrupted. You were allowed to keep going.
I understand that's how you people like to do things.
What do you mean, you people?
But so if I was the type of person that watched this for the first time and said to myself, wow, this was very entertaining and very fun, and even with the weird ending, it actually drew me in, that I bought a Patreon so that I could watch more Mystery Wrestling. If I was that type of person, that's what I would do. But I'm not.
You're not.
No, I bought the Patreon just so I can watch more Mystery Wrestling to see it fall. That's
So
right.
you're
And become a normal wrestling company. Thank you.
Interesting. We'll go to Mikey. Mikey, this is 2 in now for you. What's drawing in? What do you want to see more of?
I'm here for this weird plot progression with Stu Grayson as our new champion. And
Hail Stu Grayson.
yeah, so I'm interested to see that. And honestly, I'm really excited because it is Evil Uno's birthday bash for Mystery Wrestling 17. I'm very excited to see who's going to be on commentary. Please let it be Nyla Rose again.
Well, after what got announced today, it could be someone else that's already done it too, because Mr. Dalton Castle's back in ROH, so who knows?
Yes, give me Dalton on commentary. And listen, it's been a really fun time. I'm excited for Mystery Wrestling 17. It is going to be a hot minute because it's going to be, it's going to be a while because it's not until almost the end of July. But hey, you know what? I'm excited. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. I'm going to continue to be a part of this because this is fantastic. I love it.
It's always good. And Jesse, will you be watching Mystery Wrestling 17 if I force you to?
If you force me to, absolutely. That's the best way to get me to do anything.
But
that's how we got you here. I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, though, you were a little lost tonight. You had a lot of different things thrown at you. Would you want to watch this?
It's so absurd that I think I need that in my life. I need the absurdity. I need something that breaks the cycle of heartbreak, I guess is the best way I could put it. So, yeah.
The monotony. You've heard it here, folks. Mr. Wrestling, except for Chad Blake, is a hit. If Chad Blake were a different person, it would be a hit. It'd be a unanimous hit. But we absolutely love supporting these local wrestlers in Gatineau, Quebec, and showing that wrestling doesn't have to be one specific way, except for Chad Blake. And we hope that you will join us next month, because we will be going over this, and perhaps down the road, maybe having a live watch along, because we will all be laughing our asses off on our couches. Anything else we want to plug and promote, Mikey, before I get us on out of here?
Sure. I do have a couple of things. I have 2 things that I need to get through as the boss, as I did not get to do my intro bit that I normally do. But if you like what you see here, make sure to follow us on the YouTubes and the Twitch. But if you cannot commit to a full-length review, whether it's live or edited, you can follow us on the socials where our clips and our report cards kind of fill in what you need to know in order to keep up with the week to week. On top of that, too, we also have some merch available at bcwrestlepod.com/fourthwall.com. And especially it's important because we just dropped our We Grapple with Pride collection to celebrate Pride 2025. And proceeds from everything within that collection that gets sold will be part of the proceeds will be donated to Point of Pride, which is a charitable organization that offers, assistance for trans, health, as well as gender affirming care for anybody who may need it. And on top of that, while this was the most important show, because I had to promote it, and that's what it says in front of my script right here that I'm totally not reading.
Not at all. We did not agree to that earlier at all.
No, we did not. Can I have my family back? Anywho. No, but in all seriousness, this was a fun one, but we do have a lot of things coming up for the remainder of the week. Tomorrow evening, I will be rocking the TNA review solo. So as I cover the go home show before Against All Odds for TNA, which is their next pay-per-view happening this weekend, which is kind of crazy. But then hopefully everybody grabs their snacks and loves to watch goriness, because it is going to be a double dose of GCW this weekend. On Saturday, we will be doing the GCW crew will be doing a live watch along for Tournament of Survival, in which this basically death hardcore matches is going to be great. This is going to have a lot of people in here. It's going to be fantastic. Andrew and Adolfo will be holding it down. I will be having boots on the ground for Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank in Los Angeles on Saturday, but I will be back on Sunday to join Adolfo and Andrew for the Sunday watch along, which is Cage of Survival. We are getting some really great matches, and if you enjoyed Mr. Bear Bronson here on Mystery Wrestling, Mr. Bear Bronson will be competing at Cage of Survival 4, which I'm excited. This is going to be a fun one for short. But yeah, we got some exciting stuff. And that's all I have to plug. So JVL, why don't you wrap this big sucker up and lead us out here?
All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you to Jesse for joining us tonight and coming back after a long hiatus. We're glad to have you here, and hopefully we can inspire you to watch some fun stuff. Thank you to Mikey for running this ones and twos. Chad Blake, I would say thank you, but I feel like that you would take that as an affront to yourself for me thanking you for being here, and I should just be grateful in general that your presence
You're welcome.
is here.
You're welcome, Jeremiah.
Perfect. And of course, I've been
It was Xander.
I've been everyone for him tonight. It's been a four-way. Thank you for joining us on this four-way, as it's been going in and out and around. But in general, we appreciate Mystery Wrestling for the same reason we appreciate you. You are unique. You are spectacularly different than anything we could think of out there in the world, and we love you for that. You make us laugh. You make us cry. You make us think about this thing we love. So here at BC WrestlePod, we want to make sure that you understand that you are a huge part of this. You get to finish your story, and we appreciate you all. So good night from all of us, and we'll see you next month for Mr. Wrestling.